all fun and games till someone gets shot.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we have more information, more news to talk about and break down. Just throughout the year, we've been getting droplets of information. Here's a little leak here, here's a little teaser there. Someone does a news article. These developers are being very meticulous in what they share with the public, and also sometimes things just leak. But I really think regardless of how everything unfolds, once we get these games, it's going to be truly amazing. Today we have more information about MK12 and also Injustice 3. For all of the doubters out there, we have more information, and I think just looking at all this stuff and how it's piling up, I think it's pretty obvious. But before I get into that, I did want to mention that PlayStation is having a state of play. It returns next week. It says tune in at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on June 2nd. Reveals, announcements, and more. Now they confirmed that God of War will not be there. So if God of War isn't being there, you have to ask, what is? Now I don't know if Mortal Kombat 12 will be there. I don't think that's going to be the case. But I think eventually, as we get deeper into summer, we could definitely see one of these fighting games getting announced at this PlayStation State of Play, Summer Games Fest, or even EVO, right? The next thing that I want to talk about, I thought this was very fascinating. It says confirmed PlayStation IPs that will get TV shows or movies. Now lately there has been this big big hype train in the gaming industry. Turned all of the gaming properties into shows or movies. You have the Mortal Kombat live action, you have the Mortal Kombat anime, you have Halo, Uncharted, Mario is getting something. This list here lists out a bunch of PlayStation IPs: Last of Us, Twisted Metal, Horizon, Tsushima, Ghost of Tsushima, an excellent game, Gran Turismo, and God of War. You also have Tekken Bloodline coming. You have Cyberpunk, Sonic. So many video games are getting turned into movies and shows. And I was thinking about it the other day. We have yet to hear anything about Street Fighter. You have Tekken being an anime. You have Mortal Kombat being a movie and an animated movie. Street Fighter, I wonder if, when, and what they're going to do. In my opinion, I would rather Street Fighter go do like an anime. I think that would be really cool to see what they can do, because the old anime movie, I think it was from like the 90s or the early 2000s. That was like, that movie still like flashes up in my mind. So vivid. That anime movie was incredible. So that's what I would want Street Fighter to do. Getting into the big news for this video. So this all started with a news article from Event Hubs. Now I've been having problems with Event Hubs lately. Event Hubs, they put out this kind of clickbait news article about Fei Long, and they were wrapping up, I believe his name was Daniel, he was the composer for Street Fighter V, but they called this big controversy, and in my opinion, I felt like they didn't do a good job with their journalism. But we have another one here, and this one was about Injustice 2, which I think it's funny that Injustice 2, if you guys remember, probably like 3-4 weeks ago, there was that scrub tier list that came out, and it put Injustice 2 at 14 top 20 best fighting games of all time. I made a video about it. I know Maximilian made a video about it. Everyone was kind of pointing and laughing, saying this is definitely a scrub tier list. But with that being said, if scrubs or casuals, I guess is a nicer way to say it, if they feel Injustice 2 is one of the best fighting games of all time, you better believe they're going to be demanding Injustice 3. Now it did leak, Injustice 3 Gods Will Fall was the name, but ever since that leak, Ed Boon has repeatedly said, oh, we may not do that, we may do something with Marvel, we may do something with DC, we may even be working on MK12. There were some MK12s throughout the year that was leaking as well, and this news article here is just stacking up on top. It starts off with this news article from Game Rant. 5 years later, Injustice 2 is still begging for a sequel. Despite Injustice 2 meeting expectations in nearly every way, players are still waiting for the next entry in the series a half a decade later. I feel like this is everyone. We're waiting for the next Street Fighter. It's been like 5-6 years. The next Tekken, it's been like 6-7 years. The next Injustice, it's been 5 years. The next Mortal Kombat, it's only been 2 years. A little bit below it says Injustice 2 released exactly 5 years ago, with the title proving popular with DC fans and fighting game lovers alike. I would really say more DC fans than fighting game lovers. But not only was it one of the best selling games of 2017, but it boasts an 87 on Metacritic, showing that the game was critical success as well. However, despite all the accolades, fans have received no confirmation that a follow-up to Injustice 2 is in the works. Now, Ed Boon responded to this news article, and I think his response really says everything we need to know. Not only did the past articles and the past tweets he put out say it, but he's doing it once more. On Twitter, a direct response to this says, "We really appreciate that 2 of our games have anticipation for future installments." Notice he says 2. That's going to be Mortal Kombat and that's going to be Injustice. And we wish we could be everything, everywhere, all at once. For those of you who don't get that reference, there's I probably will watch the movie after recording this video. I heard really good things about it, but basically there's a kung fu movie. I heard it's like a old lady and she like travels through all these different times, and I don't know. I tried to not really pay attention to it because I want to go into it blind. That's how people said the best way to experience it is the less you know, the better. But Everything Everywhere All at Once, one of the people I know said this was the best movie he ever watched, and that guy knows a lot about movies, so you could kind of see that reference there. But the rest of it says, but someone would have to give us the key to the multiverse first. He's kind of like making references to everything. You know, Marvel is really big in the multiverse right now. They're doing all this different realities, different characters and stuff like that. But focusing on the message that he's saying, we have 2 games that's anticipated. We are making one and we can't make the other. We can't do that. We're not big enough. And also, I don't even think they would want to. Why would you compete with yourself? Why would you want to put out Injustice 3 and Mortal Kombat 12 at the same time? You're competing with yourself, which is like kind of dumb to do that. Of course, this sent shockwaves, but at the same time, it was kind of confusing. He put out a follow-up tweet. It says, yeah, that was kind of unintentionally cryptic. I basically saying that at the moment we can't work on every game we'd like to make all at the same time. So basically confirming that he's not working on Injustice 3 and Mortal Kombat 12 is next. He's pretty much said things like this in the past, but here it is once more for all the news articles, for all the casuals, for all the hardcore players, DC fans, MK fans, fighting game fans. MK12 is coming next, and really when you say Injustice 2 was one of the best selling fighting games, MK11 it was going to be if they put out more DLC and more content, but they cut the game lifespan short. So MK11 definitely was on path to being another best-selling game of all time, or one of their best-selling games of all time. So either way you look at it, both of these games, like he said, has a lot of anticipation behind both titles. But that's it. I just want to do a little discussion about this and also the other things that I wanted to point out. Hopefully you guys enjoy this. Hopefully you guys like this. And thank you everyone who's been subscribing and watching and commenting and stuff. I really appreciate it. But that's going to be it for this one. See you next time. Bye bye.